Good morning, this video is called A Time and Place for Heterosis. So first off, what is heterosis? Heterosis, also known as bastard power, is something that you see in genetically unrelated animals. When crossed with each other, you get very often a very strong animal. Also, oftentimes a little bit more healthy or a lot more healthy and more longer living. So how could this be? So as I mentioned, the genetics of the parent animals, they are not related at all, very often also from a completely different breed. Some people also use heterosis within one breed, for example American Pit Bull Terrier breeders, because at its specific game there's nothing that can really touch an American Pit Bull Terrier on average, and then they breed within the breed by having strains that are not that much related and also strains that have a good click once they do connect. But that's not heterosis we are referring to, because it's quite a specialistic field. I can relate a little bit if you want to. So what they do is they oftentimes line breed and inbreed specific strain, the strain of their choice, but after a while they get inbreeding depression. So it results in less vitality and less strength and less bone mass, etc. So bottom line, the things that they like in the straight are often still there, but they are at the end of it. And what they then do, very oftentimes, they use another line bred, inbred strain that is not related, and that they know this is the best way. If they already know that that line has a good genetic click, good heterosis, but also the desirable traits with the other line, and then cross out to that line. And once they have that heterosis, they cross it back into their own line again, quite rapidly. So it's a timely loss of coefficient of inbreeding, so to say, but oftentimes in the long run it can even increase the coefficient of inbreeding, and as they would say, purify the line further. So they keep the traits that they really want and amplify them, but they do this in a little bit of artificial way by outcrossing once it does not give them anymore what they want, or they have gone too far. But that's a little bit of a sidestep. Now back to heterosis by unrelated breeds, and then in my opinion you should follow a little bit the same steps. So if you are breeding your very good line bred, performance bred animal, for example Patterdale Terrier, that has all the traits that you want, but you want something even better, for example you need a little bit more strength, then you can add a little bit more bull. If you need a little bit smaller animals, perhaps you could introduce performance bred border terrier blood, which is quite rare. If you need a little bit more speed, you could look at a whippet, etc. But normally, the specialist that a Patterdale Terrier is, you do not need other blood. If you have a good strain of Patterdale Terrier, it can do everything that it is supposed to do, being a fell terrier, going on the ground especially. So Patterdale Terriers should not be focused at hawk hunting, they are far too little. You could use them, especially in some scenarios. I found out that in Southern America, but also Northern America, sometimes they use Patterdale Terriers to catch the little hawks, the hawklets, the piglets, and they could act as a good catch dog there. And why is that they are so good at it? Because if you have bigger dogs, for example American Pit Bull Terriers or Dogo Argentino, when they catch such a little hogglet, piglet, they will do a lot of damage by catching it, because they're so big and they will sink in their teeth and they have a lot more mass and strength. Whereas Patterdale Terrier will still have the bravery, easily, or even have the bravery to face the big hogs, but will do so with a lot less damage. So then there's a good alternative. And what they then do is get the hoglets and feed them with waste of their own. So for example waste plant food, etc. And once they are bigger, then they eat them. So they just use them as a little bit of a piggy bank. This is also a piglet that you fed with money in your earlier years perhaps. But it comes from the time that people used the pig and fed it all the time and used it as a saving account, either by eating it themselves or selling it, and then they had a heavier pig to sell. So back to the heterosis, for example, if you are not able to be kept within the specific type that you want, for example the Veld Terriers, which are a little bit open, they are infusing sometimes a little bit of bull blood, Border Terrier blood, Lakeland blood into the Veld Terriers, and Patterdale is a subdivision thereof, which is also not completely closed. So that's already giving you a lot more genetic diversity and performance bred characteristics instead of just the external features, the show looks. But for example, if you breed a little bit bull in, you go back as soon as possible to the Patterdale side. Why is that? Because then you have the benefit of the external genes, the benefit of a little bit more strength, but the drawbacks are also, for example, more size, less supple body, especially the chest that the Patterdale Terriers are known for, that they are able to collapse. You want to optimize that as soon as possible again, and also get them to the size that's needed again as soon as possible. So for example, first generation outcross, F1 and then F2 again in the Patterdale line, which result in the F1 being 50% bull, the F2 being 25% bull, and the F3 being 12.5% bull. So you see that this is going rapidly downhill, and with 12.5% bull in the F3 you already have 87.5% Patterdale again back. And that's the way that it works. Same with Border Terrier blood or other blood, but that's a little bit different because those are dogs for the same purpose. The only thing is why you go back into the line is oftentimes these type of dogs are quite game, and it's hard to keep them game. It's the same with bull, but both Patterdale and bull are game, so you can still use them both. But you need a specific type of gameness, and that's hard to maintain, especially if your genetic diversity is extremely big. And why is that? Because that gameness to fight and to keep fighting regardless of the punishment they receive is an unnatural trait. And why is that? If that was in the nature, wolves would not have so much of dominance battles or hunting battles, but a lot more of the time they would have battles that would injure them so severely that they would not be able to continue. So it's not a good natural long-term strategy, so to say. And that's the reason that the purification, as I also mentioned with an American Pit Bull Terrier, is often so sought after. To purify those traits those mutations, so to say, that reduced the natural instinct. For example, wolf, when he has received enough damage, he tries to escape and keep the genes that make the dog game, because they will go on regardless. Hope this helps. But also for the Val terriers, it is of course important that they keep doing their job, and especially the darker Val terriers, that they keep working the quarry so that it does not have a chance to escape. With the white Val terriers, it's a lot more baying type, still hard terriers, but a little bit different than the darker, the black and the red Val terriers. Have a great day.